Welcome to K&D's Homestead. I'm Donna. The temperatures are changing quickly here in my area, and I'm zone 8A. But it's a little tricky because we're in the upper 70s and even low 80s expected this week, but we're in the very low 40s, like 40, 41, and a high 30 expected this week, and that is chilly. The last thing I want to do is wait until the last minute to get my stuff winterized. That way, and I'm not talking about the garden, I'm not talking about the greenhouse or anything plant related. I'm talking about readying the house and a few things outside. Well, yeah, technically, I guess I am going to talk about the greenhouse because, for one, I've got to go put all my windows in the greenhouse because it is getting chilly enough that some of the plants that I have are not going to be very happy. The other thing that I've got to do, well, it's a list of things. I've got to get my fireplace, my wood stove ready. I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure the last time we put a fire in it last year and we were done, I probably just closed up the doors and did not take the time to clean it. Well, I need to check on that and see if it needs to be cleaned and get down to that, because if we have a really chilly night this week, the last thing I want to do at 8 o'clock in the evening is have to clean out the fireplace before we're ready to put a fire in it. Because when you're cold, you're cold. And the next thing that I need to do are all of the air returns in my house. And there's a lot. We have 5 air returns. And they're all in the ceiling. That is for your heat and air units. Well, we have 2 heat and air units. They're split units. And it's because the house is, the size of the house, it requires 2. We're 3,200 square feet in this house. Those 2 heat and air units require 2 air returns each. So there's 4. And they're high enough, they're up in the ceiling. So I have to get a ladder and I have to go up there and clean them and take down the old filter and replace it with a new. Well, I normally do that about every 30 days anyways, unless I forget. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change them out now so that everything that I'm doing to prepare for winter and cold temperatures, I'm getting it all done at one time. But I also have a bigger unit in the ceiling, up near the ceiling actually, that has an air return that is separate from our heat and air. What we did was, this is a really large wood stove and our space is wide open. It's the open concept, thing. And while that wood stove heats tremendously, it almost heats too much in our living room, which is big. Excuse me. It's big and it's open, but it still heats so much. We had a motor. I don't remember the name of it, but we had a unit put up in our attic with a vent in here to the living room. And what it does is it draws the heat out of the living room. And we had ductwork installed, and it throws all that heat down the hallway and into the bedrooms. That has an air return, a big one, different size compared to these. The next thing that I'm going to do is go outside where all of my faucets are coming out of the house, and there's 5 or 6, and I'm going to make sure that they're all covered well with a insulation so that we don't have any frozen or busted outside faucets. And that has happened before in the past, and I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So the things that I've got to do to ready for winter: put the windows in my greenhouse, replace 5 filters for the heat and air unit, 4 for the heat and air, and 1 for the wood stove. And make sure that all of my pipes are covered. The last thing I want is some kind of disaster during the winter. Frozen pipes in the winter is not fun. If you've ever done it, been there, you know it's not fun. I want the wood stove ready so that if it drops down chilly enough this week that we need to put some wood in there and burn, that it's ready. And then when we turn the heat units on for the first time, which that's probably going to be a while, the wood stove is going to be more than adequate, but the first time that you turn on your heat units after sitting all summer, there is kind of an odor. There's also a smell that kind of smells like something's burning. I now know that that is natural. I used to worry about it, but it's natural. It's dust really that's heating up, and then the coils in there that are heating up, and they've just kind of sat all summer. But I want to make sure that my filters are clean. So let's get to it. Here's one of the heat and air vents with the filter. One of the 4 that's in the ceiling there. So I'm going to replace that one, and the other 3, I have this one here. I have one in the kitchen doorway, and I have one in our master bedroom and one in the hallway. And then I have one in the living room. This is the big one that's up near the peak of the living room ceiling. That one does not go to our heat and air unit. That one goes, that's in here strictly for the wood stove. It takes the excess heat, and we have it placed up near the ceiling because hot air rises. So it takes all that excess heat out of the living room that the wood stove puts in here, and it carries it down the hall and dumps it into all of our bedrooms. Now, we had that installed. That was not here in the house, but once we learned how big and mighty this wood stove is, like, it was so hard to use the stove and not feel like we were suffocating in here because it puts out too much heat. And so we had this installed, and to make good use of all the extra heat in here, it saves us a little money not having to turn the back unit on, which serves the bedrooms and bathrooms. So it kind of just transfers all this extra heat. And for the most part, unless we drop down into the low 30s or upper 20s, the wood stove heats the whole house. We only have to kick in the heat units when we get down into those extreme temperatures. This is our wood stove, and I'm gonna have to work my way over all of this. This is trim work that still has to go in the kitchen. The crown molding and a lot of trim work for the construction we have going on. So it's kind of blocking my way. But this is the wood stove, and I'm going to have to make my way over to it. And I need to back up because now I'm too close. So this is an old, it's an antique, but it works perfect. It's a large wood stove, and it covers a very large opening for our fireplace. Like, I have been inside of this fireplace, and I can stand up in it. It's about 4 foot across, and it's very high up in these bricks, which go all the way up to the ceiling. But it's a very large, so we can put a lot of wood in this thing. The stove has 2 catalytic converters, and it has 2 fans. There's 1 fan on each side, and we can control the speed of the fan, the blowers, with a switch. So what the catalytic converter does, takes the smoke through some chambers in the back of this wood stove, and it goes through a second burn and makes it more efficient. It's a lot like the catalytic converters on your vehicle. What it does is it puts out less smoke and soot, and throws back more heat. Less mess goes up the chimney because all those particles are burnt a second time, rather than if you were burning a normal fire, then all that soot and smoke is going to go up the chimney. It does not on the first burn. It goes through the second burn, makes it more efficient and less soot. So that's pretty efficient. And then, let me back up. There's a lot of bricks around this fireplace. Those bricks serve a purpose. All those bricks heat up behind the fireplace or behind the wood stove. All those bricks heat up and they throw heat out into the room, which makes the whole system quite efficient and quite warm. But the last thing I want to do is have a chilly night and want to put a fire in the wood box, and I have to spend time cleaning it out and scraping the glass and getting all that soot and debris out. So I'm going to do it now before we have a need, and that way it'll be nice and clean. So I have new filters, and I'm going to take all the other filters out and replace them, a total of 5. Yep, just like I thought. I left it a mess. I'm ashamed to say that this is how I left it at the end of last winter. And now I got to pay the price for it. I wish that I had cleaned it out in early spring. But I did not. But I guess it's better. Well, I just made a mess. It's better to do it now than wait until our first frost comes, and then I have to do it in a rush. I'm normally pretty good at staying on top of things, whether it be organized or doing my chores timely. I mean, I'm just better at staying on top of things than what I have done this past 6 months. I have several reasons. They're not good excuses, but they are the reason. I really don't want this grate in my way, but I don't want to make a mess on the floor either. I guess if any ashes drop, I'll have to vacuum them up. Now, last year we did a real good intense cleaning on the inside of the chimney and the liner. This had to come out. That was not easy. It took 3 grown adults to pull this thing out. It's very heavy. My husband built a large wooden frame that came level to the bricks here, and it was on, we put rollers on top of it, and then we just pulled this out onto the platform that he built, and I got up inside of the opening and used our tools and cleaned that part and cleaned the back of the stove here. There are some chambers on the back of this stove. This stove goes in quite a ways into the box, and there's surfaces like this on the back side, and there are chambers, honeycomb chambers, and the areas where the catalytic converters are, and I scraped and cleaned all of that off on the back side last year. And I cleaned the inside of this too, but the inside of this needs to be cleaned after, you know, a handful of fires to keep it clean. Anyways, we also on the door here, now the glass is black, that's just soot, but all of this rope is new. I ordered that from Amazon, I think. It's nothing special. It's Fireplace rope to seal around the glass, and it takes a special, well, I don't know how special it is, but it takes a particular sealant that goes with the rope, and I bought that and replaced the rope. I also sent the glass to a glass company and bought a new glass because the other one had a chip in the corner there, and we had been living with that chip. It didn't interfere, no smoke got out through it or anything, but I decided that I didn't want that anymore, so I took it to the glass company, and they put in a new piece of heat, well, glass that's designed for fireplaces. This is not actually that bad. It's just that I did not clean out the wood ash at the end of the season, but the walls in here are not that bad. Like I said, I did a real good cleaning sometime into the season. It wasn't last year. It was probably around, I remember it was cold. I'm thinking maybe around January or February is when we pulled this stove out and I did the deep cleaning. We also did the cleaning from the top side down. Cleaning the liner from the top down. Vacuum all of that stuff. Now, where's my brush to scrub that? Up in there. I found my brush, and I got a little, it's just a lid that I'm going to use to catch the debris that I scrape off of the door. Now, I'm just going to use this to capture what I scrape off of the glass. I can wash it. And use a razor. I hope this is a sharp razor. I may have to put a new one on it. because you need a really sharp razor to get the glass clean. I got to do this standing up. All this wood ash will go in the garden. I spread it out. I actually had, when I started this, I had a full bucket from last year. And I took that out to the garden and spread it throughout all of my garden beds. And this will go out there as well. And then sit for the winter. It'll get washed in with watering, whether it be by me or by the rain. But wood ash is good for your garden when it's not. I wouldn't put it directly on my plants, but since I don't have anything out there and the garden's basically gone to rest, it'll help amend the soil and put some nutrients in there. On the camera that looks like it's a bed full of ash, but it's not. There's a bed of hard bricks in there. It's actually not bricks, but it's we didn't put it in, it was in when we bought the house, but it's a bed to raise the fire up off the floor. If that wasn't in there, then the floor of this thing would go way down here. And that is a material, it's kind of like concrete, but it's a material that somebody spread and put in there that you can buy and mix up like a mortar or a concrete, but it's made for fireplaces. I asked the guy who came, the chimney sweep, what it was way back in the day. And through the years, it has deteriorated, and so it's uneven. At some point, we will have to chip that out or pay somebody to come in and dig it out, bust it up, kind of like you would concrete, and then put a new filler in there. But it's not going to be this year. Now we'll put the grate back in. Okay, now I'm going to vacuum around the outside edges where I have spilled the ash. And for now, I'm going to call myself done. Just need to clean up the little bit of ash that I've made, but it's ready for a fire. I'm not going to make it crispy clean and look like brand new. And the burnt soot on the glass, I got it as clean as I could with a dull razor. I may come back later and I get a new razor on my, or a new blade on my razor handle and scrape that some more. But I'm not that concerned about it because I know that it will burn off with our first fire. The main thing was I just wanted to get it cleaned out and ready so we can put our first load of wood in it when we have that first cold night. So that's all I'm going to do on this, other than I will vacuum that up. But I have to close it because when I walk away to get the vacuum, you can be sure one of my cats is going to try to get in it. Well, I ran out of daylight. So this is the next day after doing the cleaning the fireplace. So now what I have to do is go put my windows in the greenhouse and the last couple of plants that I've gathered from outside in the yard, hanging baskets, and I'll turn this around and show you the last few I have to put in there. It's just a small handful of spider plants. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spider plants in this little jug plant, which is looking really sad. But these are the last plants that I have to take in the greenhouse. So I'm going to go over and put my windows in. While I'm out here doing the greenhouse windows, I'm also going to put foam on all of my outside faucets, and I counted them up, and there are 9 outside faucets that I need to wrap. It's just a foam wrap that I put on them every year, and a couple of them may still have them. Somehow, I don't know how they end up coming off or blowing off from the wind, I don't know, but I've got 9 faucets to wrap for the winter and put the windows in the greenhouse and put these plants inside as well. Well, I came out here to put the windows in, but I also checked the weather, and it turns out for the next week we're going to be in the low 80s, and then that's for our high, and then our overnight lows are not going to be that cold. Actually, the high 50s and low 60s for our overnight low. So I think I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to wait until next week to put my windows in the greenhouse, because if I do it now and we have 80s, that's going to make it too hot in here. It's just going to contain all of that heat, and I might end up killing some of my plants. So I guess for now, that's the crazy thing about our fall weather. It might be the same where you are, but when it's, we're cold at night, hot in the daytime, and it's back and forth. There's jokes on the internet everywhere about your weather. T-shirts in the daytime, winter coats at night. But this is always tricky as to when it is safe for me to put my windows in, because this greenhouse is pretty tight. And once I put the windows in, it does heat up. And when it's cold during the winter, it will capture the sun and bring in lots of heat, and it keeps it warm during the day. Even if we're in the 20s and 30s, we will be in the 50s and 60s in here. So it might be just a little premature for me to put the windows in today, now that I see the weather. Last week, it looked like we were going to have really cool temperatures at night this week, and so I thought it was time, but I think it's probably not. I don't want to kill everything in here because they just got too hot. So I'm just going to monitor the situation and hold off on the windows. But I do still have, what did I count? 5 or 6 plants that I've got to bring over here, and then I think I'm done with gathering all of my plants to bring inside here. On a side note, it does not look like the carrots or the celery that I sowed in here is going to germinate. It's been 3, maybe almost 4 weeks now, and I've had nothing. So that's a bummer. That's a failure. Could be I didn't keep it watered well enough. I don't know. But anyways, I guess all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at changing the filters on the AC and heat units and cleaning the fireplace. And it's not too early. I'll go ahead and do the foam wraps on all of my outside faucet handles, where you turn them on, because I've had those things rupture in the past, and I don't want that to happen again, so I can do that. And other than that, well, there is one more thing that I need to cover up. I'm not ready to do it. I'll figure out what I'm going to use. I need to cover up the pump on my pool. In the past, I have always put a large tub over it with a blanket up in the tub to just keep that pump from freezing, because it is out in the open. It's not in a covered house. So I will figure that out and I will cover that up. That's all I can think of that I need to do for winterizing right now. When things start getting cooler, here's something I do in my greenhouse. I have, wow. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. There's a tub here. Wow. There's a tub here where I keep some plastic I was going to show you. But it appears a snake has shed its skin in this. What do I have? I'm not putting my hand in there. Where there's skin, there might be snake. Let's see, what do I have? I sure hope that snake is not in there. That is disgusting. Oh, he was a fat one. Look at that. That's just part of it. That is a snake skin in my bucket. Well, that's not fun. I don't like these kind of surprises. And no telling how long that's been in here, and I just didn't notice it. Kind of creeps me out. All right, back to what I was going to say. I have these squares of bubble wrap. They're cut to size on all of my windows in here. When it starts getting really cold, I take these and I spray the windows with a mist of water, and I set these up there and press them on. And somehow they stay, and they stay for the whole winter. I may have to reapply, respray some, not all. Occasionally a corner will dry out and the plastic will start to fall. But for the most part, for the whole winter, these things all stay up. Only once or twice do I have to reapply. But anyways, I put this bubble wrap on all of the windows in the greenhouse to help with keeping things warm. because the windows get so cold, and I have plants up against all of the windows, and that frost kind of, you know, comes in, and I have had plants to die in years past. But I've been doing this for probably about 4 years now, and it seems to be just enough protection between the plant and the window. It keeps the frost at bay, and the plants, I haven't lost a plant now due to the cold that comes from the windows. And it also helps hold in a degree or two maybe of heat. What it does though, it makes it where I can't see in or can't see out, but I can deal with that if it helps with the efficiency in here. I have a thermostat, I have heat, and I have fans if I need them. But let me think what I was going to say. Oh, I also put them on the two sliding, I've got sliding doors here for the entrance, and I put long bubble wrap on those, and also on my house door. I have a storm door and then the regular big house door. Well, I have to leave the house door open all the time, as long as we're up, because I have dogs outside, cats inside, and they both come and go from within the porch. And there's a lot of energy loss on those glass doors. So I put the bubble wrap on those glass doors. It is not pretty. I don't try to make it pretty. I'm trying to be efficient, but it does help. It cuts back on the amount of, without it, even though you can't see any big bad gaps or anything around the door, weather stripping is what I'm trying to think of. There's no gaps, but the glass itself just, you know, sends in a cold chill. Bubble wrap on the glass keeps that cold chill from coming in, and so I put that up as well. But I will wait until we start having our first freeze before I will put that on my doors, and before I put it on the windows here in the greenhouse. So I'm gonna go check the faucets outside. Like I said, I've got 9 of them, since I'm not going to do the windows in here. Woman's prerogative to change her mind, don't you know that? This is all that I do for my faucets. This is one at my back garden, and it's a PVC pipe that comes up, and then the faucet itself is on there, and I just put these foam pieces over. It's kind of dark because it's in the shade, but that is all I do for all of the faucets. I guess that's it for this video, and for the amount of winterizing that I'm going to do. There may be more stuff comes up that I just hadn't thought of, but I wanted to show these main things just as a reminder in case anybody hadn't thought about what they need to do for the winter. Sometimes it gets forgotten. Anyways, I'm going to say my goodbyes, and I hope that you liked the video. I hope that it, you know, sparked a thing in you to say, oh, I forgot about that. Maybe I need to do that. Just don't get caught with outdoing your winterizing, because there's nothing more miserable than trying to fix busted pipes in the dead of winter or cold at night. And don't forget to change your filters or clean them. Sometimes I change mine, sometimes I just vacuum them. Depends on the filter that I buy. But, and then make sure that your fireplace is nice and clean so that you can stay safe during the winter. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you watching this video. If you like my videos and like the channel, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up indicating you like the video. And I will see y'all on the next one. Bye-bye.